What's up, guys? It is officially playoff time. The regular season has come to a close. All the matchups are in. We already covered four out of the eight. Now we are covering our fifth, and that is the Washington Capitals versus the Florida Panthers. So you have the 2016 and 2017 President's Trophy winner versus the 2022 President's Trophy winner. As you guys know, there's this whole curse with the President's Trophy. Whoever wins it, they kind of choke in the playoffs, or they don't go that far, and they don't reach expectations. We've seen that happen with the Washington Capitals many times before. But in this case, the Washington Capitals are the underdogs, and the Florida Panthers are the favorites because of not only of the season that they had, but also the players and the depth that they have on their team. But again, the Capitals have playoff experience, and they have someone called Alexander Ovechkin, someone that the Florida Panthers do not have, but they do have Jonathan Drouin and Alexander Barkov.
They
So,
have they have Jonathan Drouin, the Florida Panthers. The Florida
oh,
Panthers.
Jonathan Huberdeau. Oh, Huberdeau. Oh my God, I got the Chris syndrome where I can't even say
Oh boy,
Ooby
Jonathan
Dooby
Drouin,
Doo.
bro. Since when did Jonathan Drouin play for Florida, bro? Holy
Yeah,
shit.
sorry about that. It's the Habs fan inside of me.
That's it, bro. You were
So
watching too many Hab interviews today,
yeah,
huh?
Jesus. Rest in peace, and good luck for them in terms of getting the first overall pick. But so the regular season matchup between these two teams, I've said this many times before. The regular season matchups are irrelevant in terms of the playoffs, but in this case, if people want to understand where these teams match up, this is a close indicator on where these teams are at. So you have the Florida Panthers who are 2-1-0 versus the Capitals, and the Capitals who are 1-1-1. So it's not the best record for the Capitals, but it's not the worst either. It's average. But again, the Capitals did deal with a lot of injuries at one point in the season. They missed Backstrom for a good portion of the season as well. Uh, a good thing about the Capital season is that Ovechkin's getting closer and closer to catching up and beating Gretzky's record, and Evgeny Kuznetsov finally seems to have found himself again after two or three poor seasons where he wasn't playing like himself, and whether if that was a mental thing or maybe there was something else involved, I'm not going to make any assumptions there. But in terms of that, those are the two highlights. Again, Samsonov and Vanacek are the 1A and 1B goalies heading into the playoffs. They're going to have to decide on a starter. The same thing goes for them last season. So they're in the same spot in terms of that. Um, Also, John Carlson, one of the best defensemen in the league, one of the most underrated defensemen in the league. And then you have Tom Wilson. Everyone hates him, but man, does he do a good job. And he
Oh,
really helps the Washington Capitals, especially on that first line. And obviously, looking down the list, you have Connor Sherry, who had a pretty good year, 43 points, 71 games. Dmitry Orlov, if I'm mistaken, this is a career year for him. Really showed his offensive skills this year, his offensive production. 35 points in 76 games. Nicholas Backstrom, again, only played half the season, so 31 points, 47 games.
yeah.
Elder, expected, is getting up there in age, and he's a third liner, 31 points in 72 games. Marcus Johansson, the added at the deadline, which, knows, the culture of the Washington Capitals. Unfortunately, he wasn't there when they won the cup. You have TG Oshie, who played for half the season as well, 25 points in 44 games. You have Hathaway, who had a pretty decent season, 26 points in 76 games. Anthony Manta, again, he missed the good portion of the season too. 37 games played, but 23 points. You have Justin Schultz, who I think is a very underrated defenseman. He dealt with injuries in the past, but it seems like he's been a good fit for the Washington Capitals in the recent years. You have, I would say, an underdog,
I
the Connor McMichael, making the team this year as well as a rookie. So,
I I think if you look at Washington, and I think look, just going into the series between these two teams, I think Washington's going to have a hard time in this series, and I think the reason for that is, yes, they've got arguably the best goal scorer we've ever seen in this generation, right? And obviously Ovechkin hit 50 this year, and he got injured at the end of the season. I think he plays game 1 regardless, but I think for Washington, it's more of a situation where you're coming up against the best offensive team in the league. And, Florida scores in bunches. And I know that last game against the Canadians, they let in 10 goals. They had their B team on the ice. Let's not read too much into that. But in terms of where Florida is
They're
at,
not choking yet, guys.
I think in terms of where Florida's at and just where the Capitals are at, I think the Capitals weren't that impressive this season. And look, they had a lot of injuries. They had a lot of guys out. Anthony Mantha was out for a little while. Nick Backstrom was out for a little while. TJ Oshie was out for a little while. So they obviously had guys that were out for
And
long
they went through a really bad
periods.
during that stretch. It was pretty bad. They were
Yeah,
dropping a lot of games. They
that's
were
it.
they were first in the Metropolitan at one point, and
Yeah.
then look where they are right now.
Well, I think
I
and I
mean, they
think that
finished in a wild card
that's
spot.
and I
So
think that that's important to take into consideration. I think this team is better than what we've seen on the ice. But the question is, and I think this is the biggest question, and we've talked about this in other series, but we're going to talk about this in this series because this is the big question. I don't know if Washington's goaltending is going to hold up. And that's regardless of whether it's Samsonov or Vanacek. I'm a big Vitek Vanacek fan. I think Vanacek's a fantastic
I
goalie.
think he's better than
I think
Samsonov.
he's better than Samsonov. I think he's better than a lot of people give him credit for. But I also do think that in terms of where the Caps are at, I think that Vanacek's also the type of goalie that I don't think is ready to take on this type of load in terms of being able to steal the series for the Capitals the way they are, the way they need to in order to beat the Florida Panthers. I
But,
think
but what I
Florida's too good.
but what I
So
like about the Capitals is that their third and fourth line is very heavy in terms of like crushing guys in the boards. Playing a defensive game. You know, it sucks that Carl Hagelin's not going to be there because he's very successful in the playoffs, especially with the Pittsburgh Penguins. But he's been a good addition to the Capitals. He's done for the rest of the year, so it sucks that he's not going to be there. But you have Jensen, you have Dowd. These guys are underrated. They don't have the flashiest names per se, but these guys really help on the penalty kill. And you know I think the Washington Capitals, we see them as an aging team. Their core is up there in age. They're not getting any younger. Eventually,
yeah,
they're not going to make the playoffs. And in the upcoming years, they're going to have to go into a rebuild or a restructure or whatever, retool, whatever you want to call it. But, this is one of their last chances. And now you're facing the President's Trophy winners in the Florida Panthers, who, you know, I would say, apart from Colorado, they're the team to beat. You have
mhm.
Jonathan Huberdeau, not Drouin, Alexander Barkov, Sam Reinhart, Claude Giroux, who they added at the deadline, and he's literally been up, I think, above a point per game player for the Florida Panthers. And Claude Giroux with Philadelphia, that was not working out anymore. Everyone was saying that he's finished, he's showing his age, and so on. No, that's not the case. The thing is that Claude Giroux was playing with a team that was not good enough for him
Yeah,
at that age. He
yeah,
needed to be surrounded by talent, younger skaters, because he has very good hockey IQ. He's not the fastest skater he once was, but he's a fantastic playmaker. And you put him on a line with Barkov, Huberdeau, Bennett, Reinhardt, Duclair, it doesn't matter. This guy is going to do some damage. And we have Jaden, who said that Giroux is going to show Ovi levels this series. Maybe. I mean, we'll see. Unless
well,
Ovi goes and crunches him in the boards, because we know that Ovi doesn't take shit from anybody, which I
but
respect about him.
going into Florida a little bit too, like you've mentioned a lot of the guys. Florida, for me, I watch this team and I look at this team, and there's not one bad thing about it. Like they've got depth, they've got the depth, they've got the defense, they've got the goaltending. They've
Every single line, all
yeah,
four of the lines
yeah.
is literally like, you know, amazing.
But
Okay.
that's it,
You
and
have the ideal fourth line, the ideal third line, the ideal second line, the ideal first line. You have a mixture
it's
of young players, veteran presence. Your defense is solid. You add Ben Sherratt to the mix. Aaron Eggblad, I think he should be back for the first round or maybe halfway through or the second round, but he will be back at some point in the playoffs, depending how far Florida goes.
yeah,
You have Mackenzie Weegar, one of the most underrated defensemen that no one really talks about. You have Anton Lundell, who had a very under the radar season, but did fantastic with 44 points in 66 games. You have Mason Marshma, uh,
Marchment.
Marchman, whatever. I don't know why I put that. I use that little like French accent of mine. 47 points in 54 games. Like Carter Verhage, 55 points, 78 games. Duclair, 58 points. Ekblad, 57.
Yeah,
Reinhardt, 82. Barkov 88, and Huberto
115.
115.
But
This team is freaking stacked. And you know what the worst part is? You have Patrick Hornquist, okay, a guy who was playing top minutes last year, playing the third line and sometimes
yeah,
even the fourth line. Okay,
well,
that's how deep this team is.
you want to
I'm
know what's
scared of this team.
you want to know what's crazy? You want to know what's crazy about Florida? And so we talk about Jonathan Huberdeau having 115 points in 80 games. Barkov is 88 and 67, and he missed 13 games. Could you imagine if Alex Barkov would have played those 13 games that he missed? Actually, he missed 15, right? Or yeah, 15, if my math is correct. Sorry, my math is, anyways, we had 15 games. Yeah, it's 15 games. And so in terms of that, he missed 15 games. Could you imagine if Alex Barkov wouldn't have missed those 15 games? Florida could have been even better than they already were.
and
Imagine.
and
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 so
the
it's
beautiful part
crazy.
the beautiful part about Florida is that they put up a freaking kick-ass performance last year against Tampa. Yeah, they lost in 6
Yeah,
games, and
they did.
Bobrovsky was
They did.
atrocious. And I really hope that Bobrovsky does not pull that shit off again, like last playoff series against Tampa, because that's going to really hurt their chances. I really hope Bobrovsky is consistent, and we've seen that this year that he was very consistent. I think there was a little stretch of like
Yeah, he
five to
wasn't
six
that
games
great
where
at
he was
one
kind of
point.
shaky. Uh,
Yeah.
as long as they have Spencer Knight, I think they're solid in terms of, let's say if Bobrovsky does not live up to expectations, they need a goalie to come in and save his ass. Spencer Knight is that guy. We have another comment from Jaden saying that Florida has little to no playoff experience besides Bob and Giroux. Is the only thing that's been to the finals. Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, you're completely right. This team is relatively young in terms of like playoff experience compared to the Capitals, who a good chunk of those players were there for the 2018 Stanley Cup. And you know, can that really be a factor? Yes, no. It's the same thing with the home ice advantage thing. Yes, it could be a factor. No, it could be a factor.
I
It really depends how the team as a whole like adapts to that.
I
If they
think
actually believe in that.
I think that in terms of where in terms of where the Panthers are, I think that this in terms of playoff experience, I don't really think it matters, and I'm gonna tell you why. Um, Barkov and Huberto have played in the playoffs before. They played last year. They played against Tampa. I think that this year, especially, and I know we talk about President's Trophy winning teams, and usually they get kicked out, and sometimes the record in the playoffs isn't that great. I think this year's different, man. Florida's just got there's something about this team, and it's from top to bottom. It's like this team. This team can let in four. That's why yesterday when I was watching the Habs game too, when the Habs were up 6-1, I looked at my brother and I said, "This game's not over yet." Because that's the type of feeling that Florida gives you, is that Florida can score as many goals as they want in bunches. And I know that in the playoffs it's more defensive and teams play a better structure and it's more defensive or whatever, but Florida's just scored goals in bunches all season. And I just don't see that ending in the playoffs. And I think with the Capitals having goaltenders that I think Vanacek had a good year, but I think Samsonov especially, and if they decide to go with Samsonov for game one, that's going to be a rough test for him. And so I think the Florida is a team that's going to be scary, number one. And number two, they're going to go deep in the playoffs. They're going to be a team that I think is going to go, if they have the opportunity, I think they're going to go to a cup final. And I know that it's he's the President's Trophy winning team. He's saying that because they're the best team in the league. No, I'm saying that because I've watched Florida play this season. And to be honest, almost every single time I've watched them play, they've shocked me in so many different ways.
Like I'm gonna see something that's
Like they're crazy.
controversial between the two teams, the two best teams. Sorry,
Yeah,
Florida and Colorado. If I have to choose a team that's gonna choke, I think it's gonna be the Colorado Avalanche.
I agree. I agree.
I think Florida has a lot more firepower. They're in a harder conference. They're in the
Yeah.
East, and I feel like maybe Colorado is not going to take it as seriously as Florida is. Florida
Well,
knows that, like,
and
you
I
know, and there's also that thing in their head, especially what Bill Zito has been trying to do since day one, since he got hired as the general manager. We want to be the number one team in Florida.
yeah.
It's not Tampa Bay. It's time for the Florida Panthers to be the number one team in Florida.
And
So
I
they're gonna have that in the back of their heads, and I think they've had that all season ever since they got eliminated by Tampa Bay. That they want to prove to everybody that they are the team in Florida.
ab-
They're number one, and they're
absolutely.
the team to beat.
And I think that gives them a lot of interesting. It brings you to a lot of another interesting conversation, which is the Florida Panthers this year kind of reminded me of Tampa Bay 2 years ago, right? The team that won the cup in not last year, the year before. This team was a team that dominated the league. Dominated. Like they were absolutely dominated. They dominated everything. They went to the bubble. They dominated everyone. Ended up winning the Stanley Cup. It was a fantastic. That's what Florida reminds me of. They remind me of that Tampa team. And that Tampa team went through a lot of heartache. And we talk about the Florida Panthers, and there was a lot of conversations about, oh, look at Florida, look at Colorado. Florida and Colorado are the exact teams that teams want to be, right? When you build a team, you want to be exactly like Florida and Colorado, a team that's got all four lines, three deep pairings, and two solid goaltenders, and they have everything. And so I think that Florida, for me, I'm going to just make the prediction now. I'm saying Florida in five. I'm saying
Ooh.
I'm saying Florida in five. And
Look,
the reason I'm going to say Florida in five is because I just don't. I think this series ends really early. I don't think there's any question about it. At all. Unless, and even if Bobrovsky goes down, I think Spencer Knight's just as
in the
good, if not better.
last we look at Florida's playoff history. They made the playoffs not that many times, 4 times in the last 10 years. 2021, 2022, sorry, 5 times in the last 10 years now, including this playoff series.
Yeah.
2022, 2021. Um, sorry, no, actually it is 4. Yeah, it's 4 in the last 10 years because they lost in the qualifying round in 2020, so it
Yes.
doesn't really count. 2016, 2012. Then they missed the playoffs for 12 years. Then before that it was 2000. Before that was 1997 and then 1996. This is a team like Jaden was saying that does not have a lot of playoff experience. And yeah, I know I'm going way back, but the organization as well, you know, they don't know what it takes to win. This is like their first time. This is their first of all, this is the greatest Florida Panthers team they've ever created
Yes.
since day one, since they entered the league. Number one. Second of all, I think it's also their best season ever. And third of all, this is the most expectations they've ever had because when they went to the Stanley Cup Finals in '96, there was no expectation. They were a fresh team. I think it was like a year 3 or year 4 since they entered the league. You know, they were like they went on a miracle run. You know, and then they lost against Colorado. So in terms of this, now there's expectations, and the expectations are that Florida is either the second has the second most votes or the first most votes to win the Stanley Cup. And look, I'm not discrediting the Capitals. They're a good team, but they're an aging team.
Yeah.
Florida are fast. They have veteran presence. They have good hockey
I agree.
IQ. And not only that, they're not just a scrawny team. Just because you have skill and speed doesn't mean that you can't hit. They have guys like Radko Gudas. Giroux's a heavy guy. You have Ben Sherratt. Mackenzie Weegar could throw the body. If Ekblad's coming back, he could throw the body.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they got heavy guys. You know, even Sam Bennett could throw the body too. It's more like guys like Duclair, Sam Bennett, Huberdeau. Those are the guys that are not going to really throw their body and stuff. Even Lundell, um, even Verhage, you know, like. But in general, you
Yeah.
know, like Florida Panthers just have the better team. My prediction: Florida in 6.
I think Florida in five. But at six is good too.
But
Anyways,
the Capitals could take them to 7, but again, it's all about choosing the right goaltender this time because I know last time against Boston in the first round last year, they were always juggling between Samsonov and Vanacek. This time they need to stick to one guy and hope he takes them far. And in terms of Florida, they need to continue playing the way they've been playing and they need to pray to God that Bobrovsky does not choke again like he did against Tampa.
yeah.
Anyways, guys, thank you so much, guys, for watching this episode. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, check out all our past matchup videos that we made. We're doing the Pittsburgh Penguins versus the New York Rangers tomorrow, and then on Monday we might do a double header, finishing the West, or maybe we might do Monday and Tuesday. And we have David who said that, oh, stop it, Florida and 4. I mean, look, the favorites are Florida. We all know that, but
Yeah.
again, I don't want to discredit the Capitals. Uh, you know, they have the players that could make a huge difference. When you have Alexander Ovechkin, anything is possible, and especially Kuznetsov, who's having a fantastic season. So, guys, don't forget to check out any Cup or Bus videos as well. Those are interesting, and we'll see you in the next episode. Until then, bye.